Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are in the world, you know it is JJ on JJ's PC Builds. Okay, we got a little something special for you on Wednesday, May the 10th, 2023. I'm going to break this down to you because it's going to be happening in between May and July. So we're going to break this down for you. The 4060 Ti is going to be coming up next up on the SKU. So let's have a look and see what the rumors are all about. The leaks, so whatever. We're going to go to videocards.com and we're going to check it out and we're going to see what's going on. So if this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. We're trying to work towards 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. What I mean by 4,000 watch hours is if you watch the videos from beginning to end, it would be much appreciated. It will help us grow and help us get monetized. Once we get monetized, we can go further, we can do a lot more things, and so on. So if you're loving the videos, make sure you subscribe. If you're new to the channel, and I want to welcome all the new subscribers, welcome to JJ's PC Builds family. Now, let's get to the juicy part of it all. We're going to go up to the action screen and see what's going on and see what's loading. Alrighty, this is what we got going on. I know it's a little big for the screen, but we're not really interested in seeing what the 3060 Ti or the 3060 is doing, the 30 series. We're interested into the 40 series. And this is from videocards.com. So it looks like, and we're going to get into it, it looks like the 4060 Ti, okay, they got many different, it looks like they're going to have 3 variants. They're going to have an 8 gig, they're going to have a 12 gig, and a 16 gig. And that's very interesting. So they're going to have a 4060 Ti that's 16 gig, but guess what? All three of them share the same substrate. So basically meaning that they're all going to have the same amount of specs when it comes down the line. Like the cores are going to be the same. I would imagine the base clock and the boost clock might be different. I'm not too sure on that. They ain't got nothing on that just of yet. But it looks like they're all going to be sharing 128-bit bus. They're all going to have 288 gigabits of bandwidth. And they're all going to share, except they're all going to be about 160 watts, So, but the release date on the 4060 Ti 8 gigabyte is going to be in May 2023, this month sometime. Now, the 16 gigabytes and the other one, the 12 gigabyte, might come in July of 2023. So make sure you stick around for that. And the 4060 non-Ti. Looks like they're going to have an 8 gigabyte of 4060 non-Ti come in at July 2023. So you're looking at the first week and the second week and maybe the third, first week and second week, they're looking to bring the 16 gigabytes 4060 Ti and the 4060 non-Ti. They're going to be bringing that in July. So make sure you stick around for that. June doesn't get anything because I guess it's not important what's going on in June. But do remember we got more to come up with this. Also, too, AMD's got something coming in there too. So we'll cover that in the next video. But in this video, we're just covering the 4060 3 variant So you got the 16 gigabytes, the 12, and you got the 8. Now, knowing if they're going to do the 12 or not, that's kind of up in the air. But, but do remind you, this is just a rumor. This is just a rumor. Okay? AMD or Nvidia has not put anything out just of yet to confirm any of this. So once they put it out and they confirm, I'll make sure I let you all know. So, but in my opinion, the 4060 Ti 16 gigabytes, if it's going to have 4,352 cores, I'm kind of, I'm kind of hesitant. But I'm not as hesitant to tell you to get your drink and get your snacks, because we're going to try to get through this very carefully. But we're not going to make too long of a video about this. I'm just letting you know what I know, and I'm breaking it down for you a little bit. But it looks like, comes down to it, 4392 in the cores. I mean, if they're going to give you 25, 35 megahertz, that's not too bad. And they're posting that on for the 8 gigabyte, but I would imagine that the 16 gigabyte is going to have a little bit more pickup. That's the reason why nothing's posted about it. So if that's the case, and the 16 gigabytes, let's say they put it at $300. Just to first say. Let's say they put it at $300, right? Okay, for the 16 gigabytes. You know how many people are going to be buying that thing? Oh my goodness, it's going to be a madhouse if they put that at $299. But I doubt they're going to do that. I bet you they're going to make it about $4.99, close to, well, they're probably going to do it at $5.99. And then the 12 gigabyte they'll probably do at $4.99, and then they'll turn around and do the 8 gigabyte at $3.99. They'll do the 543 step. So that's kind of what my mentality's thinking they might do, is they do the 543 step and do three of the substrates, at since they're all the same, but they're just more in RAM, VRAM. So I'm thinking that they might do a 543 step. So if they do that, then that totally phases out. That'll totally phase out the 4070 non-Ti. That would be like, the utmost kick in the teeth. If you got a 4070 non-Ti and you went and you see now the 30 or the 4060 Ti and the 4070, you see that there's maybe, let's say, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab out my calculator, right? And I'm going to take 5,888 minus it from the 4352. So now going down from the 4070 non-Ti to the 4060 Ti, there's a difference of 1,536 cores. Okay? But if you're looking at the between the 4070 and the 4060 Ti, they both have 128-bit. Now, as far as the memory bandwidth, it could be equal. As far as the TDP, the difference is that, the 4070 non-TI's got up at 288 watts, and this is down to 160 watts. So, but that's the 4070 is only 12 gigabytes. So, but that's that's $600. So if they're going to knock off 1,500 cores, now I did a test one time, and to do a comparison test, and I'm finding out that it's not the matter of how many cores you have. It's how you have it set up with your motherboard. Okay, your motherboard's going to dictate the speed no matter which way you think. You can tell me till you're blue in the face. The motherboard's going to dictate the speed, because that's where the graphics card flows through, is the motherboard. Now, with the motherboard I have in this PC, I know it's going to be PCIe 3.0 X16, right? So I know it's not going to be PCIe 4.0 X16, but if I did get a graphics card that's PCIe 4.0 X8 or X16, then if I reduce it down to the 3.0 X16, I will still get enough speed to where it will run fine. But I do plan on upgrading the motherboard to a B550 or an X570. I still want to continue to test the DDR4. I know it's been tested out there by everybody else, and I see all their test results, and, they go for the high-end testing, but I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do just low-end testing. Okay, so basically take the lowest stuff on the pole, that's the cheapest prices and everything else, and just test with it. And that will give me the result that everybody's been looking for. It's the testing at the bottom, not the top. So, because not a lot of people can afford the top, so they look at what's going to be at the bottom and what they can get for the bang for the buck kind of deal. Okay? And that's what you're looking for, the bang for the buck kind of deal. You're not looking for the high-end deal. You're looking for the low-end deal that's going to give you the high-end output. You want your low-end to give you a high-end output. I'm still going to be on 1080p for quite a while, until one day maybe I'll get a 1440p screen, or I might get a 4K screen that does, multi-varies between 4K to 1440p to 1080p and so on. But for now, I just got my one screen, and it's 1080p. No matter which way I cut it, it's 1080p. But I know if I go to, let's say I get the 4070, right? I get the 4070, and it's got 5,888 cores, and it's got all, everything that you can think of, right? So, and I plug it into this system that's got a B450 motherboard. But I have a somewhat of an advantage. I can always change the Ryzen 5 5600G to, get this, I can go from a 6 core 12 thread, right, to an 8 core 16 thread off of this motherboard. So that means if I ever decide to get a graphics card, I can go from the Ryzen 5 5600G, I can go up to the Ryzen 7, like the 5800X or something like that. Something with a higher value. Something that's going to push it right to the edge. So still having this B450 motherboard, I still have an advantage. Okay, everybody's saying, well, you're not going to get what you expect and blah, blah, blah. Okay. If the RAM on the motherboard is set for the max of 128 gigabytes, I can put 128 gigabytes into this motherboard and it'll work just fine. Because DDR4 is coming down in price, and that's going to be a good thing. So now, let's say I reduced, let's say I put 64 gigs of RAM into this computer. I put a 5800X into this computer, or a 5700, or a 5600X, just for say. And I plug it in, and I put a discrete graphics card in here. Okay, so now I got the CPU horsepower, I got the GPU horsepower, I got the RAM horsepower, all into this one motherboard. All into the one motherboard. And I don't have to change anything. And that's it. You think it's going to play great games? Of course it is. To have that kind of horsepower into something that's small, an MATX, it's an MATX setup. I'll give you a hint. Okay, the way I measured my CPU case was this. I can go 2 fans on the top, okay, plus an additional, let's see, it's 12240 plus an additional 20. So about 260 on the top. So that means, well, I could go two 140 fans. So I'm going to say 280 on the top. Okay, so and down the right from here to here, the length from the bottom to the top is 3 fans. It goes 120, 240, 360. So I got 360 in length. And width is the standard width. So basically, graphics card, I could do a 2-fan graphics card, 2 120-fan graphics card, boom. I know how much I need for the graphics card. Now, if I want to put in an AIO cooler, I can go up to a 360. I know the length, and I know how the front's set in. I know I could do a 360 millimeter AIO. So that's great for me. And if I need extra cooling, I can always pull from the bottom, the way the case is set. I can pull 2 fans on the bottom, 2 120 mil fans, pulls directly out of the bottom, and make sure it's ventilated, which that won't be hard, and set and put. So just having a B450 motherboard and all what I have now, adding a new processor, adding more RAM, adding a discrete graphics card, I can do that and interchange everything, the components on the motherboard, just for a sec. So I don't have to change the motherboard. I am sure I can get another 4 years out of the motherboard because they're still doing updates on the motherboard. And that's a good thing. So I do know if I go to, let's say, a B550 motherboard, I know I'm going to have to change the power supply. I'm already expecting that. On the surge, the power supply I have will surge up to 1,000 watts, but I just don't want it to teeter past 875 watts. So if I change up all the components and it hits me at 600 watts, that's fine. If I can keep it at about 600 to 625 watts, this power supply will still be fine for this. But anything that goes up above, like, say 650 to 700, I would not risk it. I would get a bigger power supply. So the reason is because you have little spikes, little surge spikes. It's not so much the surge spikes coming from the power supply, well, it is, but the surge spikes that come off of the power going into the power comes from the wall into the power of the power supply and sends little surge spikes, which the motherboard and the graphics card, they amplify it and they make them bigger spikes, and then it causes a surge of power that causes basically a loop effect, and it'll just break down the power supply. So we don't want that to happen. If it comes down to it, then I'll just get me 1,000-watt power supply. So even though that I might not need it now, but I probably will later, it's good to have. So it's not a bad thing. So, but as far as this, what's going on, I mean, it all depends. All depends on what you want. Look, if you want a graphics card to last you 4 years, then buy one that's halfway decent, that plays all the new games that you can get away with, that has enough VRAM, and 12 gigabytes of VRAM's just as good. But if you're playing the low level games to where they only use like 4 gigabytes of VRAM, then you can get away with using 8 gigabytes VRAM video card. Even better, you can get away with the 12 gigabytes of VRAM on a video card. Or, some people do, they'll add more RAM to their PC, and they got like the Ryzen 7 5700G, and they take and dedicate 8 gigabytes of VRAM to the integrated graphics, and then you got the rest, minus the 8 gigabytes, and the rest for the PC, which the PC won't use that much. The maximum I've ever used in RAM on the PC with integrated graphics, the most, was 12 gigs. Out of the 16 gigs I have in here now, I've only used 12. It only hit 12 maybe 2 or 3 times. But any other time, I'm not even hitting anywhere in between there. See, you got to allow for Windows to have at least 4. You'd say at least 4 gigabytes of RAM for Windows, and then you got your programming, which can take 2 to 3 to 4 gigabytes. So, depends on what you're running. Now, with the stuff I run, the only way I'm going to hit 12 gigabytes of RAM on the PC is if I use, let's say, a good example is if I use Cinebench. If I use Cinebench, then maybe it'll hit close to 10. And that's it. Or if I use Furmark, maybe, I don't know, Furmark doesn't use that much. So I can't really consider Furmark as a good test. But if I use like Heaven Benchmark, yeah, that would give me a good roll. So that would be a good thing to use Heaven Benchmark to test, the GPU and see how much it tax on the CPU. Or if Heaven Benchmark only tax the GPU, then to run Cinebench and Heaven Benchmark at the same time to see what your total overall is, taxing the CPU and taxing the GPU at the same time. To put that utmost pressure on your system to where you're using both at the same time to see if it actually is going to work. If it's going to hold up to the pressure. So I've done that before, and it seems my PC holds up to the pressure. Just the way it is right now, it holds up to the pressure. Okay. But once I get a discrete graphics card, then I'm going to test it again, and I'm going to put it through the pressure stage, and I'm going to see if it holds up. 3-minute run. If it holds up in 3 minutes, it's going to hold up for 3 hours, 3 days, 3 years, and so on. But anyway, I'm not going to make this too long of a video. If this is your first time here, make sure you subscribe. We're working towards 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. And if you love my videos, put a positive thumbs up. Here, positive thumbs up would be appreciated. More positive likes. It'll tell YouTube, the algorithm, that you guys are liking my videos. So please show more of them. So this way we can get more subscribers and so on and so forth. But until the next time, which is not going to be too long, because I think we're going to have another video coming up real soon. But until the next time and the next video, this is JJ on JJ's PC Builds. We will see you on the next one.